Anyways, Mr. Zaakir Badat, all the way in the UAE. Firstly, dude, how does it feel to finally be in a fight week after some time off?
It's been a long time. It's been the last time I was prepped for a fight was before the first lockdown. When we went into COVID, fighting Broski in EFC. And so that was been prepping since then for a damn fight. So it's kind of surreal, and there's a lot of moving parts that had to go into making this possible. So just very, yeah, we just take it nice and easy till the finish line, till fight night. But yeah, super excited.
Let's talk about that, because obviously COVID made things quite interesting. So you and your brother had to pack up shop for a little while and couple of bit of horse riding out in the desert, and just explain to the people watching how this exactly came about, how
So
you had to travel
we
and
were
so on.
literally we were literally given 48 hours to make a decision, and I had a shit ton going on. I had a lot of stuff happening on the firearm training center side. I had a lot of work piling up. I just opened a new gym, and there was a second one I was building, and a new location I was setting up. And so it was at a very busy time in my life. But there's never the best time, right? There's never a time that everything is perfectly aligned. So we made a decision, and we decided we'll take the opportunity. It basically consisted of us as South African citizens needing to be out of our country for 2 weeks, or over 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks before we are given access to the UAE. So we had to spend those 2 weeks in Jordan, in a place called Amman, which is the capital. We spent 2 weeks there. A beautiful experience. Got to see another place, a new place. Got to travel. Something that we are both greatly passionate about, Shaq and myself, which has been hindered by the COVID and the lockdown restrictions. So that was a good opportunity there. Big shout out to our manager Yusuf, for arranging everything and being the magic man behind the scenes. So we spent 2 weeks there. We trained there. We got into a regiment, into a routine. We hooked up with a good gym on that side where we were training at. There was training facilities at our hotel. So yeah, that's what we had to do. And then last night we flew over from Abu Dhabi, from Jordan to Abu Dhabi. Um, got in this morning. Did our like 20 PCR tests. It's yeah, I mean, you do a PCR test before you get to the airport. Then once you get off at the airport, you must do another test because you might have had COVID whilst you're on the plane. And then you land here, even though I did a test before I left for the fight, I'm gonna do another test, and so it gets a bit much. It gets a
Sure.
bit much, but I can understand. I can understand the people's fears around it, etc. Just a lot of things being shoved up your nose continuously. But hopefully that's the last of the PCR test before my fight. So yeah, that was the logistical situation with regards to actually getting to Abu Dhabi.
100%. I want to ask you on that. You mentioned you're obviously a very busy man. Shooting balloons from 100 meters doesn't just happen overnight. You've got to practice these things. You spoke about the gym, and you spoke about all of these things going on. What would you say is the motivation to take this kind of risk, to pack up for over 2 weeks, let's say 3 weeks?
Uh,
Go for it.
I mean, so the way I break things down, I try to look at it as professionally as I can. All my fights. So from my nutrition to my training to my psychology, I've got professionals in each field. So it was something I discussed with my psychologist, something I discussed with my fighting team. We break it down as scientifically as possible, and taking all the variables into account, this was a good decision to make. Fighting has always been a priority in training since I was a child. I've always wanted to pursue this. My other passion that's just as strong is teaching, and firearms. Equally as passionate about those as I am about jiu-jitsu and fighting. However, this has a lifespan, and you gotta grasp it or strike whilst the iron is hot, as they say.
Sure.
So it is. I mean, this. It is a sport that is best enjoyed when you're young, and I've got to make the most of these opportunities where I could. So a little sacrifice of 2 weeks. I've got thankfully a good team behind me, a lot of people back in SA that I work with that have been able to run my other businesses for me. So yeah, I'm just very grateful the cards fell accordingly, and we were able to do this successfully. And hopefully we get the win as well on Saturday night.
Let's talk about that. UAE Warriors. I mean, obviously you were lining up for a fight in the EFC with Helion Drotsky. There was a lot of, I mean, I think we spoke about this before early on in lockdown. There was a lot of shifting about who was going to fight Helion Drotsky at some point, and everyone had forgotten about you. But you've managed to find the path now to get onto a different promotion. What are you excited about? Obviously, besides the fight about fighting on UAE Warriors.
I'd say it's an amazing platform. I mean, so far the experience we've had is quite professional. I mean, they're running a very, very tight ship. The guys here, again, our agent, Yusuf, is super helpful and connected and on the ball. I mean, really goes above and beyond. So it's been nothing but an absolutely amazing experience. I've been around some international organizations. This so far has been a very good experience. Very good experience. With regards to EFC, I mean, thankfully we've managed to negotiate ourselves into a comfortable position. We are still open to fighting in the EFC as we are internationally. So we just got to see what works best for my goals, my priorities, and my future in the long run.
I want to ask you this question. Obviously, there's going to be a new audience watching you perform. I think locally in South Africa, we've got to see small glimpses of it, and those that have got our ears to the ground know of how legitimate your skill set is. What would you say to the fans of UAE Warriors, what they can expect from you come fight night?
Well, come fight now. We've come, I don't know how many thousand miles, how many fucking PCR tests to fight. And blood will be shed in the octagon. Maybe some of mine, but definitely some of his as well. And we've come to fight. I haven't sacrificed 3 weeks of my life to fuck around. So I've trained my entire life for this particular endeavor, or these particular endeavors. And win, lose, or draw, it's going to be a fight.
100%. I just want to ask you about your opponent lastly. Is it, I mean, obviously it's quite unknown. Looking in a bit of a wushu background and obviously a more stand-up orientated kind of guy. Is that something you pay attention to, or is it you just work on more or less what your game plan is and what your skill set is?
So yeah, so I mean, my brother Shaq is a magician at that. He'd break it down, examine whatever footage we have to work with, etc., and then shape my training around that. I'm expecting to stand in this fight. I want to demonstrate some of my striking. My brother and I put in a shit ton of work with our striking, so we're in no rush to take things to the ground. We're gonna have some fun standing up. We're gonna throw some. I'm gonna throw some hands, and yeah, well, I put a lot of work in on my striking, and I'll hopefully like to demonstrate that come Saturday night.
Fantastic, buddy. Really excited. It's always exciting to see guys moving around and trying out new promotions. I've been getting 100 messages on where and how to watch already, so that always shows an inclination of what's going on. So we wish you the best of luck, man. Hopefully no more
thank you, my brother. Thank you, BigAl.
Hopefully no more swabs up the nose.
Fucking hell. Can only tired of that shit. They are going to broadcast the fight on the UAE Warriors app, Abu Dhabi Warriors app. You can download the app and then watch the fights on there.
One last thing, there was a couple of questions I got today. People are asking if you've relinquished your South African citizenship, as there's an Indian flag next to your name on the UAE Warriors poster.
Yes, that was upsetting. And I spoke to the guy today, and I told him, like, you've got the wrong flag next to my name. So then he asked me which. I said I'm South African. Then a few minutes later, he messages me and asks me, what does a South African flag look like? I'm like, for fuck's sakes, buddy, you got Google. Google, you see what the South African flag looks like. Jeez, that was upsetting. That was bloody upsetting.
That was amazing.
You know, it's the beautiful thing, though, too. I mean, speaking on our country, as is with most countries, it's got its flaws. However, what we do have is freedom, and we do have a lot of that. And I'll speak particularly with regards to our firearm rights. I've traveled around the world a lot to places that are very open to firearms and those that are very culturally close to them, close-minded. And my last message will be to all South African citizens out there to oppose this new gun bill. You know, the change to the Firearm Control Act is absolutely ridiculous. It's a complete infringement on our rights as citizens. You know, for a upstanding, law-abiding citizen to have to go and have their rights expunged or taken away from them, whilst criminals never follow the law, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So to all my fellow South Africans out there, we have got an amazing country with an amazing constitution. We need to never allow our rights to be taken away, because once it's taken away, it's never given back. 100%. So yeah, that's my
100% powerful message. We're not handing in shit. Never.
Fuck that.
Thank you, dude. Best of luck.
Thank you, BigAl.
Ciao, buddy.